Things have been going terribly for Red Thread Games, all because of Dustborn, and now in a not-so-shocking turn of events, we're finding out that the Dustborn CEO has made extremely racist comments in the past. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, Red Thread Games is filled with activists who do not care about making entertainment simply about pushing the narratives that they want to, and that is exactly what they did with Dustborn. It is a politically driven pile of slop, and it's just not a good experience. I did stream it once. I don't know if I'll go back to it. I don't know if I have the strength. Maybe I will, but now we're finding out that, of course, the Red Thread Games founder has been outed as a massive hypocrite and a virtue signaler. It says, thanks to the Internet Archive Wayback Machine, while the forums over at Red Thread Games have been purged, they had been preserved, and the internet never forgets. So, this individual, Ragnar, is, of course, somebody who has been vocal in the community for a very long time. And there is a thread from back in 2015 that talks about racial representation in Dreamfall chapters and the rest of the series, and of course, he decided to go off on an extreme tangent. Now, yes, I always say this, posts that are older do not reflect usually the individual that exists today. People grow and people change over time, but he has not shown that he has adapted as a human being, and he does still agree with these stances, so it is fair to call them out. While yes, what people say in the past was, in the past, and they could certainly change for the better, based on Dustborn, I think it's safe to say that his TDS has only gotten worse as time has gone on. Now, individuals like this believe you cannot be racist against white people, which is most certainly not the case, and that is really reflected here. He said, seriously, this is the most effed up, useless, and offensive observation I've read this week, and that includes the Steam forums. I stay away from most discussions these days because the internet is increasingly depressing and an upsetting place, but I'd hoped shit like this wouldn't poison our official forum. And since you called me out personally, I feel I'm entitled to respond. Now, of course, as a CEO of a company, you do need to address customer complaints, and you do need to understand what it is that people expect from you and want from you, but the way that he melted down just proves that he is not someone who is very level-headed. He continued by saying, our team is predominantly white and male, and that's unfortunate and hopefully something we can change in the long term. I always say this, but the best person for the job should get the job. If that happens to be a team of primarily women, a team of primarily people of color, that should be fine. And in this case, he was saying that it was predominantly white and male, and at the end of the day, you hired them because they were good at what they did. So you should not feel ashamed of that. You should feel proud of that you have a team of people that you believe in, that you trust, that you feel confident in. Instead, he completely pushes to the side all of that hard work and effort that those people did in order to denigrate their existence, saying, oh yeah, they're just white men. I hope that we can get rid of them in the future. That's such a disgusting way to view things. He says, of course, that's unfortunate. Hopefully something we can change in the long term. But hey, we live in Norway and we work in the game industry. Them's the shakes, as they say. As white males, we have absolutely nothing against our own gender or ethnicity, except that it gets dull. What an awful thing to say. Saying people that are like you, whether it's their background, their ethnicity, their gender, that they get dull, that's just not, a mindset or a statement that I would want to support. I want people to simply exist. It doesn't matter what their skin color is or what their gender is, but instead, because he's ragging on white males, he's saying basically that that's okay. It is virtue signaling to the max, and it's also racism. Racism is, of course, relating or characterized by racism, such as having, reflecting, or fostering the belief that the race is a fundamental determinant of human traits and capacities, that the racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. All he's doing is going, white men are bad. And that's not something that, again, I personally would want to support. He goes on to say, once again, we've tried to be more diverse with Dreamfall chapters simply to keep it more interesting and real. And yes, the world is filled with all different kinds of people, with all different kinds of backgrounds. And I do think that it's great to represent people in experiences, whether it's video games, movies, TV shows, books, it does not matter. I like to see diversity, but the problem is that they went into a game like Dustborn saying, we are putting diversity in this to the max because, well, we were a team of primarily white men, and we wanted to change the way the company approached video game development behind the scenes and, of course, in the product itself. It's just so pathetic, in my opinion. And of course, he has not recently made a statement about this, even though there are tons of individuals calling him out now. And I don't think that they're going to. This is clearly the stance that he still has and that the team behind Dustborn still has, because we've seen the products that they've continued to pump out like Dustborn. And of course, if he truly believed in the diversity he preached, he would make a powerful statement by, as Smash JT says, stepping down and letting a person of color or a woman take his place, right? But of course, that won't happen. Now, I do not think that there is going to be anything massive that comes of this. I'm not sitting here saying, in my opinion, that he should step down and that he should, basically be booted out of the company. But I do think that it's rich coming from somebody who, yes, basically hates himself and says, we need to do better at this company. But he's been there for over a decade at this point. Clearly, he is not somebody who wants just good games being made. He wants games being made that push opinions and narratives that he genuinely believes in. And then he's allowed to do that, but gamers are also allowed to criticize his past comments, criticize the content he is creating, and ultimately speak with their wallets, which is what happened with Dustborn. Nobody played Dustborn at launch. Nobody is playing Dustborn now, and it is one of the worst flops of the year. Now, 2024 has had a lot of flops. Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, Concord, of course, Dustborn, and it's a very, very tight race here for who has failed the most. And clearly it's going to be Concord because of the insane budget. But if you look at the social media backlash and you look at how few people were actually playing Dustborn, well, it's not painting a positive picture. So it's no shocker to see that the Dustborn CEO is extremely racist against white people. And basically he hates himself. His self-loathing act is really old, in my opinion, but I will be keeping an eye on this to see if he decides to make any statements. I highly doubt it, but for now, that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.